This in just minutes ago, Donald Trump has been found guilty in his hush money court case in Manhattan. This is a truly historic day for America. The indictments were one thing, these charges brought against him were another, but this is the first time that a president has been found convicted of a crime. Donald Trump becomes the America's first president who is a felon. I mean, this man has been charged with a felony, and, we don't have his sentence yet, of course, but our former president is a convicted felon. Now, this just happened. You maybe have not heard about it yet until now, and that, again, is because this is breaking news, and it just happened. Now, this came after weeks upon weeks. Has it been months? I don't know. It's definitely been more than a month now, maybe nearing 2 months, where we have heard, nonstop updates on the news about this case, right? This is the case where it's about falsifying business records, and it's involved with election interference, which is a felony in the state of New York, right? In New York, this case is in New York. They have certain things that they qualify as election interference. Now, this case is very complicated because first the jury has to decide if if he did falsify business records, and then you have to decide if it was election interference, and then there's one other thing. But basically, Donald Trump paid hush money to Stormy Daniels on the eve of the 2016 election because he did not want her to come out about their interactions. We'll say, right before the election, because he believed it would hurt his chances in the election. And the way he documented these payments to Stormy Daniels was not legal, right? He wrote it off as some tax expense or a legal expense, when it in fact wasn't. It was a personal or election. I don't know. I'm not good with law stuff. But basically, by New York law, according to the jury, at least the jury says that by New York law, that is election interference. There were 34 counts in this case against Donald Trump, and they convicted Donald Trump on all 34 of these felony counts. All 34. This was not a hung jury. This was a very decisive jury, and out and away from Trump's favor. Now, this is, I won't say that this is huge for the 2016 election because it really might not be. I don't think that this will be detrimental to the Trump campaign. Now, overall, and we're going to get to this, overall, when you look at the electoral map and where it does affect the swing states, I think that overall, this does not this does not help Donald Trump. I think that this case does hurt him electorally when you do the math, when you look at the electoral map and where it matters. Now, does it help him? I definitely don't think so. In poll after poll, Donald Trump being a convicted felon doesn't help him. This one poll said that he would lose a fifth of his support. Respondents, they are not going to think of this hush money trial because really when you hear it on the news, it doesn't sound very legitimate, or it doesn't sound very important or important enough for this former president to be charged. I think that is sort of the common sense position that a lot of people who aren't really that interested in politics or follow politics that often, I believe that is the assumption that they will make, when hearing this case on the news. Now, this hypothetical, again, this is, I don't think, similar to this case, right? I don't think that a fifth, this case is very different from the case that that respondents of this poll would think of, right? This is a more election interference, kind of the federal case, or classified documents even, would be more important, I believe, to people than this hush money trial. So, ultimately, I don't think that that the nation as a whole is really going to get, stuck on this and, really reject Trump for this. And I don't think that we should believe this poll that he would lose a fifth of his own support whatever, because of this trial. Because really, I don't think that many people think it's that important. But as I was talking about before, it could matter it could matter when you look at the electoral makeup. And that's primarily, because of the state of Pennsylvania. And not even just the state as a whole. Again, this is a critical swing state, right? Pennsylvania in presidential elections, 19 electoral votes. It can make or break a presidential campaign, decide who wins in this day and age. But around Philadelphia, where we have 4 counties, Delaware, Chester, Montgomery, Bucks, packed with voters. Now, these are families, right? These are parents. These are voters who really value character, I believe. And I really think, but if people were to remember this case and really think twice about voting for Trump because of this case, it would be in the upper class white areas like the suburbs around Philadelphia. When you look at the 2016 to 2020 trend map, you really see that the places that got the most blue, right, that went from, less blue to more blue, or red to blue, were these 4 counties. You see that Chester is the most notable, really shocking example. Hillary Clinton won this by 9.5%. Biden won it by 17.1%. That's like a 7 or 8 point shift to the right. Montgomery, 21.5, shifts to 26.3. And Bucks went to Hillary by 0.78. Biden won it by 4.4. So Biden was able to capture these suburbs in 2024, and in 2020, and his challenge going into 2024, in this state at least, and the nation as a whole. I mean, all the rest of the swing states, Arizona, Georgia primarily, but as well as Pennsylvania, of course. The challenge was for Biden keeping the suburbs, and that's because of the economy. Now, I really doubt that the economy is as big of a driving force for these suburban voters as it used to be, right? In the early or in the mid 2010s, I think that these suburban voters really put the economy as the number one issue on this list. But ever since once Trump got in, Democrats have been able to capture these suburban voters across the nation. Really, I mean, Biden would not have won the 2020 election without the suburban voters in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Those voters brought him to victory. It wasn't the urban area. It wasn't the urban voters. They were going to turn out no matter what. But Biden, with his very back to normal, right, return to normalcy kind of campaign, he was especially during such a tumultuous time with COVID, with the Black Lives Matter riots and everything, Donald Trump being so unpopular, he was able to win back, these parents. These are parents. That's what it comes down to. And I think that, being parents and being upper class, white, they really, and, this was proven in 2018, in 2020, and in 2022 when these suburban voters turned out for Democrats. I think that it comes down to character, honestly, because, in 2020, they rejected Trump. They voted for Biden overwhelmingly. They massively trended towards the left. The Democrats were able to capture these voters. And ultimately, I think it came down to a rejection of Trump's rhetoric, and that, they were no longer fans of everything. They were skeptical in 2016, how he spoke, his demeanor, his nastiness in terms of personality. And again, these parents, that I think is what it came down to in 2018, rejection of Trump, 2020, rejection of Trump, 2022, partly rejection of Trump, partly abortion ban. That's what they ran on. But my point is, this hush money